Okay, hello everyone, it's me, Cary. So this happened about a month ago, so some of you might already know about this, but basically there's this boy named Aston who's been writing these really cool books about astronomy, which is super inspiring at such a young age. But then at the end of he got interviewed by BBC News on TV, and then at the end of the interview, Aston is holding one of the plushies from BFDI, the marker plush, and then the interviewer talks about it. And I think it's really cool as one of the co-creators of BFDI to just have someone who's in the spotlight, showing some love for the BFDI characters. But I wanted to make this video for twofold. One reason is that I want to let the diehard Humany viewers know that, yes, I'm aware that this cool thing happened. But the second purpose is that I just want to let Aston and his family know that I think what you're doing with the creative writing and talking about autism in a very positive light is really awesome. And I also appreciate the support of you guys watching the show and bringing this guy along, because I just think that's so fun. But anyway, I'll just play a small clip so that you viewers who might not know what's happening can get the gist of it.
See you both here this morning. Thank you very much.
We never got round to asking about this guy.
Oh, this guy. This thing here. What is it?
This here is Marker from...
I am Marker from BFDI!
How I learned about him, and the YouTube channel name is Jack and Jellyfy.
That's me.
It looks like a bit like a space rocket with legs.
Yeah.
I guess it is like a rocket in that it's very vertical. But I think, obviously this sort of blew up within OSC, YouTube, and Twitter, and a lot of people are commenting about how it's cool that I guess BFDI is getting more recognition, but I don't really care as much about that because, when I was watching through this clip, 7 minutes out of the 8 minutes is more about the astronomy book that he's been writing, and also how his autism, is a superpower that helps him write and be more into these topics.
I think it's just Mercury.
Too small.
Well, it's because it's completely inhospitable to life as we know it, because water would evaporate, there's hardly any atmosphere, and the atmosphere that it currently has is mostly full of poisonous gases and everything. And temperatures get up to at least, I believe, 390 Celsius.
I remember memorizing that as 700 degrees Fahrenheit, but that's the same thing, but I'm in the US, so that's why. What I wanted to say is that I relate 100%. Because when I was around that age of maybe 7 to 12 years old, I was super obsessed with memorizing all these facts about astronomy. I would go to the school library every week and just check out another book about the Voyager spacecraft or something. And I remember my parents would let me cut out these circles from poster board to represent the planet's diameters to scale. And then I would glue them to my bedroom wall to sort of create a mini solar system. And then I would write fun facts about Jupiter. I even remember I memorized the order of Jupiter's 16 moons. And the first 4 are the really small ones that you can't see with a telescope. And then you have the next 4, which are the big Galilean moons, the famous ones. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And then you have 8 more small ones. I'm sure by now they've discovered dozens more moons of Jupiter. But somehow I just had this compulsion, I need to memorize these fun facts. Just because astronomy was that cool to me at the time. And there was also a period where I would try to make these super handmade, paper stapled books about whatever I was interested in. So at one point I did make astronomy books, but I also then moved on to puzzles and then phobias. And then I guess eventually I settled on these comic strips of cartoon characters in a game show thing like Survivor. And that turned into BFDI. So, even though I end up taking a different route, I feel our childhoods have a lot of similarities. During the interview, the man was sort of asking Aston, how did you get all this information? How did you get so knowledgeable about astronomy at only 10 years old? And Aston said oh, I just, find it on Wikipedia, Google, sometimes I go to BBC themselves. And I just think, okay, well, here's a map of Europe, by the way, because I also did that for some reason. And also there's a list of prime numbers, which is super... I don't know why I just wrote them all out. That's kind of boring. But these are all 10, 15 years old, so I can't remember. Oh, and I was really into knots at one point. I created all these knots. So that's fun. But what I was gonna say is that when I was working on Scale of the Universe 1, I remember that I was trying to find sizes for all these stars and nebula. And I would just go on Wikipedia and search, like, let's say, the Ring Nebula, and then, like, write down the size of it on, like, in a notebook. And then I would just, like, do that over and over again until I'd filled out, like, 300 objects. So I feel like, you know, when you have that passion, even if you're just a kid, it's like that information is on the internet. It's, like, super accessible. And all it really takes to, I guess, do something that adults find cool is to find a new way to present that information that is unique. And, like, the internet makes it just so easy for people at any age to do that. So anyway, what was I going to say? Okay, so I know that Aston's parents have been super supportive as well. And I just wanted to read some of the comments. So I think this is Aston's mom. And she said, "We are blown away by the response to Aston's interview." Wait, let me make sure this isn't covering it up. "We bought marker for Aston's birthday, and he arrived just in time for his interview. Aston insisted on taking him on air with him. Thank you so much for your comments." But that's really cool that it's like a birthday gift, and also like that the timing lined up just right. But I mean, I hope you had a really nice birthday, Aston. And I think that like the fact that like this plush only came out like a few months ago, it's like cool to see how quickly like the turnaround happens. But I also think that if any of you viewers get invited on TV, bring along anything that is like a distinct aspect of your personality, even if it's like not related to what the interview's about, because it can help keep the conversation going along, you know? And then there's another comment from Aston's dad, I believe. It was on this one. Oh yeah, see, like we wrote this community post saying just thank you, Aston. I think Michael wrote that. And so there is like some indication out there that like we as the Huang brothers are aware of this, but I wanted to say more than 3 words because this is kind of short. But you know, it's still there. Anyway, Aston's dad said, "We bought the marker plush for Aston's birthday and he arrived in the UK." Oh yeah, same story. "The same day we left home for Aston's BBC breakfast interview. Aston is blown away by how viral this has gone, and we've reached out to Jack and Shelby to connect with Aston. There are behind-the-scenes photos of Aston with the marker BBC on his Twitter and Instagram accounts. As Aston is 11 years old, we as parents manage Aston's social media accounts under the name Vi Publishing. Thanks, everyone. Aston is simply overwhelmed that all this is going on at the moment." Well, I think it's really cool that, like, you are reaching out to us. I was going to say that, like, sometimes it is a little hard to get a hold of us, like me and Michael. So I did find them on Instagram under Vi Publishing, and there's all these photos of the behind the scenes. And look, Aston even brought the marker plush, like, to the recording booth, which I think is really awesome. To him and the parents, if you want to reach out to me, I think the best way would probably be through Instagram DMs, where my profile is Real Cary KH. I know Jack and Jellyfy has its own Instagram account, but I don't control that account. Like, this one is my personal Instagram that I don't use for, like, the public cartoon-facing side of the world. It's more for my own personal life Instagram, which is why it's, like, lesser known. But yeah, you can reach out to me there. And then the last thing I would say is just, like, I think for Aston, if you keep writing these books or keep doing things related to astronomy, I think, you know, these memories and accomplishments that you create so early in life will be something you'll cherish, you know, for many, many decades to come. Because, like, no matter, like, where your career path goes as an adult, like, this is just something that anybody would look back fondly onto. So yeah, really great work. I'll have to, you know, check out that book because I was super into astronomy as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone. I used to, like, create these, like, maps of the United States and color code them with, like, population density or, like, population changes. Or I don't know, I'm just, like, looking through this pile of old things I would do. Like, I would create these, like, puzzle books with, like, Sudoku puzzles. What's inside? Or crosswords and other stuff. And I don't know how similar that really is. But, you know, during the interview, the man was sort of asking Aston, like, how did you get all this information? How did you get so knowledgeable about astronomy at only 10 years old? And Aston said, like, oh, I just, you know, find it on Wikipedia, Google. Sometimes I go to BBC themselves. And I just think, okay, well, here's a map of Europe, by the way, because I also did that for some reason. And also, like, there's, like, a list of, like, prime numbers, which is, like, super... I don't know why I just wrote them all out. That's kind of, like, boring. But, you know, like, these are all, like, 10, 15 years old, so I can't remember. Oh, and I was really into knots at one point. I created all these, like, knots. So that's fun.